I joined as a seaman gunnery, right? So I had multiple roles in the Navy. He said, under the seat, bro, there's a bag there. That's for you. I opened it up, bro. It was a sawn off 12 gauge shotgun and a balaclava. And that's what I did. That was my introduction into knocking on some doors, some heavy debt collecting. I've been in shootouts. I've been in some pretty hairy stuff, brother.
All that talk to my gang pull up, when we pull up, then they all dip.
Dear Heavenly Father, please watch over us and please bless everybody watching right now. In Yahushua's name, Amen. All right, brother. Amen, brother. So what's your name, my bro, and where you from?
Oh, my name is Owen Pomana. I currently reside in Auckland, New Zealand. But if I was to say where I was actually from, my dad was from Wairoa, represent, and my mum's from Dannyvik. So I'm a Hawke's Bay boy living in Auckland.
Hawke's Bay, they breed them tough out there, don't they, brother? So this is the brother Owen here. Welcome to the Fallon Show, my brother. It's good to have you on. This guy was actually one of my first guests a while back now, but my editing game again has gotten a bit better, so I thought I'd have the brother on once again. Well, actually, currently he's in Spain. As you can tell, he's looking a bit tan there. But he's
Red.
actually yeah, but red. But yeah, the brother's actually been on the front lines of the Ukraine doing his humanitarian work over there, doing the Lord's work. Brother, how was it over there in the Ukraine, man?
Yeah, it's really hectic to tell you the truth. So on the war front there, so like East Ukraine, some hectic stuff happening on all those fronts where Russia are having their war with Ukraine. As a humanitarian, brother, it's a senseless loss of life, and so being in that neutral place where we get to do some humanitarian work within the Ukraine for the last 3 months, but our heart is still for people, bro. There's sons that are not going home to their loved ones tonight, bro. The new weapons that they're using in warfare these days, there's nothing to send home. They just ash. And so heard some hard stories. Bro, they were just like us, just like Australians, just like New Zealanders. They eat food, they have kids, they drink coffee, they tell stories. And then just through disagreements, through governments and people in high places, bro, they sacrifice their people. And so it's been an honor to be able to bring our people and our nation as peacekeepers, peacemakers, although New Zealanders sent people to train people in weapons of mass destruction, that we're telling a different story that, that we'll come and help Afi and support their loved ones and bring them food and do what it takes to try and find a solution for them.
Oh man, again, beautiful work you're doing over there, brother. And we'll definitely touch into that more in a bit. But man, Owen Pomana here. So this dude, man, what a walk of life that this guy's walked, man. He's worn a few different hats, man, in his walk of life. He's like he just said, he was born in the Hawke's Bay, grew up there. He was involved in the Navy, did a lot of things there, ended up in Australia. Unfortunately ended up on the wrong side of the tracks, and ended up, becoming a bit of a debt collector, going around doing a few things in that space. He ended up in prison also in New South Wales. Eventually led him back to New Zealand, where he ended up, finding the Lord and being able to do all of these good things in life. He also won the Kiwi of the Year. So that was a huge accolade there, brother, to receive that. So, man, just where do we even start, brother? Like, well, how about, man? So, how did you start off in the Navy, brother? How about that?
Well, I hated school. Do you know what I mean? I went to a Catholic boys' school, and man, I used to get whacked all the time because all the young kids from Wanganui, they were bad little buggers. You know what I mean? And so I ended up smoking pot and smoking cigarettes, and I'd always ask the wrong questions, bro. At the Christian living classes, I ended up getting whacked. You know what I mean? Try and hide up a tree, but always used to end up, tough little Māori kids, bro, would be like, oh, everyone's watching out the windows, and if you're going to get whacked, put 5 pairs of shorts on. And the priests were really mean, bro. They were mean, naughty little kids, bro. But in my fifth form year, I had we had the Army, Navy, and Air Force come around in the recruiters bus, and so I did all the exams, and the first to draft was the Navy. And at that time, I lost my father, that was the first sign of depression for me, was losing a father at the age of 16. And so, when somebody loses someone of value, do you know what I mean? Now, our old man was hard. He was a hard man. He was a sheriff. My dad had tats all over him, man. In those days, they had these big black tats. And our dad always used to say to us, "You boys ever come home with tattoos, we'll give you a hiding." So we're a bit afraid of our dad. So even me being in the Navy, bro, I never got any tattoos, although I've woken up in tattoo parlors, drunk off my rockers, right? And the guy's got a needle gun ready to put a Daffy Duck or something stupid on your arm, but like, I've woken up in time, bro. So I wear my tats on the inside.
Yeah, nice, brother, nice. Oh, well.
Yeah, and so
okay,
I went into the Royal New Zealand Navy.
Yeah, well, so they visited your school and you just pretty much fell in love, was it?
No, I just wanted to get out of school. So the first to draft was the Navy. I hated school. So, the first thing to draft was the Royal New Zealand Navy. I joined as a seaman gunnery rate and did a few courses overseas, a CCAT aiming, which is a missile course. And then I ended up doing a ship divers course. So I had multiple roles in the Navy. Traveled the world with the Navy, so it was beautiful. But it was just an extension of what high school looked like. So, we had many brothers that come from Hatapaura, Hatapetara, Tipene, a lot of Māori boys schools. I mean, the armed forces are full of Māoris, or just New Zealanders, but a lot of Māoris. So it was like, it was the same. It was just an older generation and a different scene, So I traveled the world extensively in the Navy. And in my last year, I tried to get a transfer to do a New Zealand SAS course, but they wouldn't let me go to that course. So I felt I just left the Navy and went home. At the time, I was really in good shape. I just finished the ship's divers course, and I entered my first bodybuilding competition. And so I won about 4 or 5 different regionals: Hawke's Bay, the Hurawhenua. I won the King Country Classic. And then I had entry into the Australasia IFBB. And so I represented the 70 to 80 kilogram category in Sydney, Australia. And then I won the South Pacific Naturals in Taupo. And I ended up going to the 1997 World Natural Bodybuilding Champs in the States. Bro, and when I was in my hometown in Napier, bro, I fell in love with the most beautiful wahine, right? And all my mates knew she was the one. And I was like, yeah, sweet. I said to my best friend, "Cuz I'm going overseas, and then when I come back, I'm going to marry this girl, look after her, eh?" And I come back, he was looking after her. I had to find out when I was on the drink. Do you know what I mean? Trying to tell my mates I was going to pop the question. You know what I mean? And give her the ring and live the good life. And but my second best friend, he was going, "Oh, yeah, bro, you got something to say to you, man? I don't think your mate's your best friend." I was going, "Yeah, what is it?" "Oh, yeah, I think he's with your missus." I went, "Bro, come on, you ain't gonna do that. Mates don't do that." But it was true. So a couple of days on the drink, bro, and it was 12 o'clock at night, and I decided I'm going to deal with this right now. So I turned up on her doorstep. His car was in the driveway. I think I jumped up and down on the bonnet a few times, kicked in the top of the thing, and wrote "dog" over the windscreen. Do ugly things when you're angry, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so I'm standing on the door, and I knock on the door, and she opened the door up, and she goes, you know, we're finished, eh?" I was going, yeah, no, I'll get all that. And she said, I said, "I'm not really here to see you. I'm here to see the bro." He goes, "Oh, bro, I'm not going to fight you." I said, "Nah, it's all right, bro. I'll come to give you a hiding." And she goes, "You better go now. I'm going to call the police." I said, "Call the ambulance too." And so, like, I give my friend a beating, mate. And in that, in that headspace, I thought, you're going to lock me up. So I'm just going to go and jump off the cliff. I was 25 years old, bro. And I went up to the cliff there, speaking nasty stuff into the atmosphere, cursing God who I didn't know. And then a couple of hours later, bro, I chickened out. It was too high. But I tell you, man, lots of kids have jumped off that mountain. I mean, it's real. So grateful I chickened out because then my mate said, "Don't worry about that. Let's go snowboarding for 6 months." And I ended up getting a job at the Powder Keg or Cooney, but I was just angry. I was bitter. I was a good fighter, bro, and I was just to knock people out on the door. And I got into trouble with a couple of blokes who I chucked out the window or through the window over a game of pool, and they came back and they put a tomahawk axe in the side of my waist there, and then the head security man says, "Bro, I think you've got problems, bro. There's a whole family of them, bro. They're going to come and cut your head off." And he said, "You better leave all Cooney." So I did, and so I jumped on a plane, bro, with my taiaha, $500 and a broken heart, bro, and I ended up I ended up in King's Cross, the red light district, because I'd been here in the Navy many times before, and so I don't know why I chose to go to the King's Cross, but that's what I did. And so I ended up at the Hampton Court. Everyone knows the Hampton Court if you're from Sydney. And a few big pubs on the corner, bro. And my last feed, bro, I had $100. I couldn't bring myself to ask for help. But I ended up homeless in the streets. And I found me a cardboard box. That was to shield me from the people looking at me because I was embarrassed. Do you know what I mean? So I'm educated, bro. I've been to a college. I've been in the Royal New Zealand Navy for 8 years. Been a bodybuilding champ now, bro. I'm living in a cardboard box in Rushcutters Bay. And so a lot of people who have great stories or heavy stories, not great stories, heavy stories of, drug addiction, violence, all that sort of stuff can be quite compelling for a lot of people because I think, that's what I want to aspire to be. I want to ride a Harley. I want to go and do heavy debt collecting, but that leads to death and even prison. You know what I mean? And a lot of people that you've been sharing will tell you prison's not a nice place or a place that you want to spend your life being in. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like if you can stay out of these places and be a witness for your family and your loved ones, then that's a better testimony,
Yeah, most definitely, man. And for a lot of us just looking at it, God's plan is perfect, brother. You know what I mean? He puts us in a lot of those dark situations to refine us, and we end up coming out the other end and being able to return to those spaces and give a hand.
So I was walking through the cross past the Hampton Court, and I always see these big Kiwis and these Islanders, bro. All the security in most of Australia are done by Kiwis and Islanders, you know what I mean? Because they're big. And I just walked past this pub, and the big doorman there goes, "Bro, you train down that gym down the road there?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You want some work? You want some money?" I said, "Doing what?" He goes, "Oh, go for a ride with our bro in the morning." So I went for a ride with this big Kiwi fella, bro. And as we're traveling out to Bondi, he goes, "Oh, under the seat there, bro, there's a bag." I said, "Oh, what is it?" He goes, "Have a look. That's for you." I opened it up, bro. It was a sawn-off 12-gauge shotgun and a balaclava. I went, "Holy heck, because what are we doing? We're going pig hunting." He starts laughing. He goes, "What do you think? They're just going to give us the money?" I went, "Hey, what money?" He goes, "You stop the car, bro." He goes, "You can get out if you want. If you don't want to be here, get out." And I thought, and I stayed in the car, and that's what I did. That was my introduction into knocking on some doors, some heavy debt collecting. And so, I've seen a lot of things, bro, in that world there. And then we was at a nightclub up the cross, and we got a visit from the tactical response team that were looking for me and another Kiwi bloke. And we walked out onto Bayswater Road, bro, and there was just a whole tactical response team and guys with guns yelling, "Get on the ground." And so I had my first set of handcuffs on, bro, and they took me to the King's Cross police station, and I knew it, just get me a lawyer sort of stuff, but I want to talk to you. And as I was going out to the prison, I was 25 years old, man. I'd never been in prison before in my life. And so, like, you know what it is when you go through your first part of going into the prison, they give you your clothes and stuff, and they take you down to your first pod, you know what I mean? And so I was out at Silverwater, and I think we're 100 million units down there, and you get down, and everyone's looking at their little windows, and they're going, it's just staring you up. You know what I mean? I'm thinking, looking at them like this, but I ended up making friends with the kingpin of the prison that was known as the kingpin of the prison back then, Big Simone boy. He's one of my best friends. And he said, "First time prison?" I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Yeah, you'll be right. It's all good." Raymond Curry, he's amazing. Anyway, bro, when I got out of prison there, I did my first term of a year and a half for an armed kidnap. it's just a job gone wrong. It was supposed to be a collection of a really, really expensive car. Ended up becoming an armed kidnapping of one of the wealthiest businessmen's son in the whole of blingin' New South Wales. So, yeah. So anyway, after a year and a half, they let me out, and I got 300 hours community service on top because one of my friends in prison, who's still doing life in prison now, put my bail up. when you hang around with Big Ray, I mean, he'd say like people will challenge you, Owen, and if you get beaten, you can't sit on the table with us ever. And so I had a few fights inside, and it's a nasty place if you let it be. You know, a lot of people say you have to stick up for yourself, and usually if you don't look after your shoes, if you've got nice shoes, your shoes are going to go missing. But like, yeah, it's just one of those things, man. If you people find out what you're in there for, what you've done, and who you click with, and but I used to just kick around with normal people like us, bro. Like Jeffro Morgan, he was cool, a few others. And so I just bide my time. And so it wasn't hard for me because I was training. I was in shape. I knocked out a few people, so no one was coming near our doorstep, and I couldn't afford to be known as someone who was stood over. You know, on yourself. You know what I mean? You might as well go to SIGs or something. You know what I mean? But like, yeah, it's not an easy place for a lot of people, but we got through it, bro.
Yeah, that's right, brother. Came out the other end. So where did it go for you from there, man, when you got released?
So when I got released, man, it's funny because I got picked up. I got picked up by a couple of Lebanese brothers, right? They picked me up, man. You know, when you're walking out of prison, man, and all the brothers are slamming the doors and they're burning their sheets. They're like, "Don't come back this pit, Owen." You're like, "You go, brother." You're like, "Don't come back this shithole." And as you're walking out, you go through 3 or 4 gates. You know, you're carrying your only gear that you have when you first get arrested. But when I come out, bro, there was a BMW waiting at the gate for me. A couple of Middle Eastern brothers, they had a couple of Rolex on, nice gear. You know what I mean? I got in the car. Lebanese are funny, bro. And they'd be like, "Are you hungry?" I say, yeah, I'm hungry. And they'd be like, "What do you want to eat?" I don't know. I've been in prison for a year and a half. And so they took me to Auburn for a kebab. Right, and so then one gave me 10 grand cash from a Chinese man that was in prison, and they handed me a 9mm Glock. that was my welcome back into the and out of the prison sort of scene. And so now I was taken to a strip club run by a bike gang, and so that was my introduction into the darker part of my next part of my journey over 12 years. And so I was just brought into a bigger family of people who were just like myself. And then I got to look after a person in the underworld. I won't disclose his name. And so I helped Bodyguard look after him, and I brought my brother across from New Zealand. And we looked after this bloke. And then very short term, I had to send my brother home, and we moved on from this other bloke. And then I went to live with the national president of one of these bike gangs, and then never joined, but always grateful they took me in. And so I learned debt collecting really, really fast, or mediating. I want to tell you, I've never killed anyone. I've been in shootouts. I've been in some pretty hairy stuff, brother, but the grace of God, as you talk about God, the grace of God upon my life is that it kept me from murder. And so I've done copious amounts of drugs. And I moved from Sydney up to Queensland, to Brisbane, and it's just the same story, bro. Just the same people, different state. So it doesn't really matter in the drug scene, in the organised crime scene. Same people. Doesn't matter where you are. You can't hide from people if you're on the run. You know what I mean? They know where to find you.
Very small world, isn't it? Very small world.
Yeah. Even with these stories that we're sharing, and people say, "Yeah, I've done prison with David. I've done prison with Owen." And so you can only give an account of what you know. Anything you super exaggerate will come back to hit you.
Oh, it always will come out. And it doesn't. It always comes out in the wash. Yeah,
and so I was just like a dog going back to its vomit, bro. I became a mediator for hire. And so in my drug-infested state, I was not even probably good at that because my drug addiction was so bad that someone sent you to go and get drug collection, you'd probably end up not giving them the drugs or the money. That's how off tap you were in the end, you know what I mean? So you're seen as a crazy person anyway, you know what I mean, in and out of prison most of your life and carrying a gun all the time. And so people say, that guy's just insane. And so nobody wants to deal with an insane ice head, you know what I mean? I stood on the road many times with a sawn-off shotgun, smacked off my rockers, you know, screaming at the imaginary police and the trees and all sorts of stuff, you know. And had lots of people come and said to me, "Come on, man, you're really sick." I mean, trying to stab fish in a blinging fish tank with cameras in its eyes and taking everything electrical to pieces. That's what drugs did to me, you know what I mean? Just made me insane. So, like, nobody wants to hang around with an insane person. And so I really had many friends. I just had drug addict people who were the same like me. You know what I mean? So we're like vampires, bro. And so for the next 6-7 years, bro, I went out of Queensland prisons. I've just about done every prison in the main state of Queensland. So I went to Brisbane Correctional, Arthur Gorrie, up to Woodford, down into, what's the other ones? There's a few others, bro, that I'd spent most of my time in. So a lot of time in the court system, a lot of money being spent for nothing. And, you know, you used to pay lawyers to tell lies all the time, bro. You know what I mean? I was just off tap. Every time they'd send you on work release and all that sort of stuff, you know what I mean, to do your community hours, used to beat people up. I just turn up smacked. You know, I just had an answer for everything, you know what I mean? I'd be like, you know, get off, getting sent back to prison. Just got good at evading the system all the time and just never really ending up getting on top, just going around the mountain. A lot of us do that sort of stuff, you know what I mean? I was lost, broken. And so one of my last jobs I did, bro, I did a collection for 900,000 kilo of cocaine. And the job went wrong. And so when I went to visit the people in the end, I got visited by 5 men with steel hammers, and they tried to kill me. I was actually pulled my eye out, they ripped my ear off, I got stab marks all over my body. And as a result of that beating, I was quite lucky they never took me for a walk in the swamp, you know what I mean? And so when I was in hospital, I was thinking real nasty stuff, bro. And I was waiting for a rocket launcher to come in. I put in an order for a 7.62, some grenades, put in for 28 grams of ice, right? And I just wanted, I wanted to take these people out. So I was sitting in a room smoking crack for about a week, listening to voices. And anyway, this picture dropped into my head. This is God, right? I wasn't thinking about God. And he dropped this picture into my my mind. And I saw these kids crying. And I went, oh, what's kids crying for? And the voice said, they've got no dads. You just killed them all. Oh, that's real dumb. So I thought, then another picture came in my head, was my mum. And so I rang my mum and I was paused. She's going, is that you, Owen? I was going, yeah. She goes, oh, I haven't heard from you. Oh, are you okay? I said, no, I'm not really good. She goes, you can come home if you want. And I said, no, I'm not allowed to come home. She goes, you going back to prison? I said, yeah, I'm going back to prison. And I said, Mum, you know what? I'm just stuffed up. I'm messed up, man. You're not the reason why I've gone to prison and all this stuff. And I love you, Mum. I'll see you later. I hung up the phone, went back to my drawer. I had lots of guns. I picked a 45. I sat there with a clip, full of full metal jackets, the crack pipe in my mouth, just talking to myself, you know what I mean? And then I grabbed my taiaha, I grabbed my crack pipe and the gun, bro, and I went down to the beach. It was 12 o'clock at night. I looked around, make sure no one was looking. I said, F you, God, put it straight under my chin, pulled it, bro, and it just went click, click.
No
that
way.
gun never jams. Yeah, and then I looked at it, offloaded into the sand, went off, and then I just said, God, if you're real, help me. I don't know who you are. Now, it's quite funny, bro. Like I've been doing this walk now for about probably 15, 16 years. If you mention the word God, Jesus, Christian stuff, people go, well, that's Jesus stuff. But I want to tell you, there's nothing more powerful than God, right? He's more powerful than a gun or a fist, as you'll hear when we start to talk about the places I've been to and the trust that you have of an all-powerful God who is compassionate and kind, and he can move stuff. He can stop rockets. He can stop drones. And he can stop jam guns like he did with mine. And so I really don't fear man. I don't feel the consequences of man either. There's, you know, like my hope is when I die from this place, he said, you can come spend in heaven. But he needs rugged people like you and me, right, and others who have these encounters. I didn't have an encounter with a building called church. I have been no Bible college. I'm rugged as, right? I don't mind having a couple of beers with my friends. A couple of beers, I'm done. You know what I mean? I don't touch drugs anymore. I'm not perfect, and that's why God can use people like us, because I can tell that same religious story that people tell, right, without the religious words. But anyway, bro, through my brokenness, God sent this little pastor, bro, to my doorstep. I had all these gangsters in my house smoking crack. My friend actually brought him my place to get a beating. He had an argument with him. He thought, I'm gonna teach this preacher a lesson. I'm gonna send him to Owen's place. He's gonna get a hiding. And so he knocked on my door. If you knocked on my door, bro, I always had a gun in my pocket. And if you're my mate, you'd be like, sure, sweet, come in. As I looked at the door, I saw this old man sitting in the car, and I turned around to my friend and I said, hey, bro, who's that fella sitting in the car up there? He goes, oh, that's Pastor Ken. He goes, yeah, you'll come to pray for you. Pray about what? He goes, pray you're going to have an encounter with Jesus. I started laughing. I went, you're a crazy fella, eh? You're a crazy fella. He goes, yeah, I'm crazy in love with Jesus. As I said, he'll set you free. Free from what? He goes, I don't know, maybe yourself. Never give your telephone number, bro, to a man of God, priest, God, I mean, any of those titles. Never give your telephone number if you're smashed on drugs. Because every day, bro, my phone would ring, right, and I'd be equally confused. I'm smacked on the ice, looking at the phone like this, going, my mate like, what's up? Bro, you're not going to believe it. What's happening? Bro, it's that priest. What was he on? Wants us to come sing and dance in some building somewhere. I'm sitting in court. You've been to court before. You know what it's like. I'm sitting there. I paid lawyers big money to tell lies. They're sitting there with their little Captain Cook hats on and their little penguin suits, telling lies to the judge. You know what I mean? I was sitting there like this, watching them tell lies. But in this courtroom, bro, there was two little old ladies on the right-hand side of the courtroom. She said, you know Pastor Ken? Yeah, I know Pastor Ken. And he come to visit you the other day, didn't he? I said, yeah, he come to visit me. And what do you want? And they said, well, we just want to come and support you today. Do you know why I'm in court? No. Listen, I'm not really a nice person. I've got guns. I smoke crack. I'm a violent person. I do arm stick-ups. And I'm going to prison for a long, long, long time. And the lady, she sits there and she goes, you know Jesus loves you. Oh, my God, it's Jesus stuff again, right? And so I went home that night, bro, just like any other night, 7 o'clock in the morning, ding dong. Right, my eyes are hanging out. I had panda eyes, right? And I opened the door, and there's a pastor standing at the door like this. I went, you're a really persistent old man, aren't you, Pastor King? And he goes, yeah. You want to come to our house? And this is how we represent God. We just want to help people. In that instant, bro, I knew that my life was out of control. I had a tear in my eye. And I just said, Pastor King, can you help me? That was the desperation from my heart. But if that's what the Jesus which he was trying to explain to me looked like living in him, bro, was knocking on the door of my heart. And I thought, this is the same shit, excuse my language, I've been doing for 12 years, in and out of prisons, lost, broken, you know what I mean, no hope. And here's this man offering me this aroha and this love. You know, I mean, this old man keep turning up to my doorstep, still turning up to my court cases and sending people to tell me this Jesus loved me. I'm like, these Christians are real radical nutcases, you know what I mean? So anyway, bro, I ended up giving my heart to the Lord, and I ended up coming back to prison. I'll tell you what, man, I led 81 people to the Lord in a Queensland prison. You can ask anyone who spent prison with me. They'll tell you. I even had a fight for Jesus. It was funny. This is what I say to people. Like, some people read Christians wrong. They think we're weak. You know what I mean? I've been in 57 nations, brother, in the last 12 years. Not sponsored by any church. I'm not of the churches. I'm not of the buildings, right? Jesus visited prostitutes, gangsters, tax collectors, and the religious people try to kill him. They still try to kill him today, and they still try and kill people, right? With if I just sing more, if I just read more. Most people don't understand the book, what the book's like anyway. I never, right? But when I got this easier book to read, right, with the easier words, I thought, well, that's a real cool story. That's just a training manual, bro, how to live your life. And I don't have to carry that book around. It's in my heart. And so, bro, I've, in the last 12 years, I've had two women and children refuges in Henderson and a men's refuge in North Shore. I've had a street ministry for the last 5 years where we feed about 170 meals every week. My mate Tammy, who you're probably going to be doing a story on, has taken over that work. We've got life skills and court advocacy wraparound services. For that work over the last 2 years, 2021, 2022, I've been nominated as local Kiwi Bank Hero of the Year for New Zealander of the Year, which is really funny because I've got 12 pages of criminal convictions. All right. I'm not sponsored by, as I said, I've never taken any money off government or anything like that. They've given me a building. I've met prime ministers, presidents, I've met billionaires, trillionaires, I've met people. It doesn't bother me what you do in your life, you know what I mean? And this is what I'm telling you, God has got a sense of humour. He can use anybody. And I'm the least of these. When you come against all these flash people, I'll be like, man, I like wearing my jandals. I'm unshaven, you know what I mean? I like eating with my hands. It was funny, bro, in Ukraine the other day, the Ukrainian government gave us NGO status. We're sitting on this table and everyone's trying to be proper, eating this chicken with a knife and fork, right? The guy across from me, I know he's ex-special forces, he's fit looking, you know what I mean? And they've got the equivalent, probably the FBI and the NCIS and all that there in the Ukrainian government asking who we are. And I'm thinking, this is really uncomfortable. I really want to put that chicken up and start munching on it, right? And the guy across from me, he picked this chicken up. I thought, that's me. I put the knife and fork down. I grabbed the chicken, bro. I started eating it, and he started laughing. And then I said, yeah, I don't like the knife and fork either. I'd rather eat it with my hands. And then the big guy stood up, and then he said a speech. And then, bro, I responded with a fight kōrero, and I said, I want to tell you that, we've come from we were warriors, Māori warriors from the First Nation to see the light, Aotearoa, New Zealand. I said, we're here because we heard the cry of your people. And we're a faithful people. But I'll tell you, when we had enemy, we used to eat our enemies. And they still looking at us like, we're not going to eat you today. Right? And then and in the morning, I did a fight kōrero for Ron Mark, and I said, usually when we tell you about my people, we talk about our mountain, we talk about our river, we talk about our people. And I'm going to do a haka from Te Rauparaha. And when they did this haka, they were all naked. I said, but I'm not going to get my clothes off. I said, my face is going to be extremely angry and my voice is going to be extremely loud. Please don't call us special forces in here to whack us, all right, because we're your friends, right? And so I did the haka, bro, and then they gave us NGO status. But in all honesty, I've cheated that many times. I've done a heap of stink, bro, when I was messed up. And there's probably people who will never forgive me for the things that I've said and done. And so, if these people are watching right now, I mean, I'm not that person. When I was messed up on the ice for 12 years. And so, it's one of those things to ask for forgiveness for people, but to actually live it is something, when you can be a catalyst for change. And so there's going to be young people aspiring to be like some of the people that you're mentioning, sharing their stories. And so I'm an original 501 that was sent back to New Zealand. You can read thousands of stories of New Zealanders kept in detention centres like yourself. Right, bro, if you ask a lot of people and what they're doing for their work now, bro, their mahi, say, bro, what do you do for your mahi? And they were like, oh, I work on the roads. Do you like what you do? Nah. Well, are you going to go home grumpy then? Do you go on holidays? Nah, bro, I don't have any money. And so you've got all these imbalances in our lives about what we've chosen to accept. So we accept the circumstances. Oh, I've been in prison. I can't travel the world. Well, listen, I've been to 57 nations. The only place I can't get back into is Australia, right? And so I've stood before people that have the ability to say yes. All right. So we think paperwork's going to say no. But if you tick yes and you stand before a government official, so well, what do you do? Feed the poor, clothe the homeless. What do you mean by that? I'm a missionary. And I've got evidences of what I do. And I just say, let your yes be yes and your no be no. It's as simple as that. And if people can see that you're doing all it takes, right, to better yourself, for you and your family, then they've got to have a sense in their heart that you've changed, that's not you in the stories that you've presented. Do you know what I mean? It's like, well, that's really cool what you do. So I had to become a focal point from something that was so burned out rat to something that can be used. And so, like, if the Australian government now were to do a character test on me now, I'd pass it hands down. And that's what we're asking very soon to the new Prime Minister and their framework is to have a look at character testing. How are you going to, if we can respond in a way that allows us to gain entry back into Australia. Mine's just to go and speak, not to go and live. But there's brothers that are longing to go home to their whānau, do you know what I mean? And so that's my hope for people is that they could they could become something in their life too. My door is always going to be open for a conversation. I try not to glorify the past, but it's a funny story. I mean, how God kept me alive. And a lot of the people that we mentioned, bro, they were hard people, bro. And you got caught in these hard places, you're a number. You know what I mean? You'd end up in the swamp. But God's grace kept me from that swamp. And so now my hope is to meet all those ones that are still alive, because the majority of people I know, bro, they're dead. You know, to have a look at back on our lives, I wouldn't change anything to where I am now. So I love the Lord. All right, He set me free, and doesn't mean that you have to go to a building, carry a Bible around with you, and do all those sorts of stuff. I'm rugged as, but I know that He sustains me, bro.
Oh man, Owen Pomana, brother. I've got so much respect and love for you, brother. You know, it's a blessing to have come across you, man, and to have met you, and to be able to have been able to, you know, kick back with you and have a yarn and become friends with you. Because, brother, you know, even in my own walk with the Lord, man, you're definitely someone you know, I aspire to. I definitely think He put you in my life for a reason, brother, and couldn't agree more, man. You know, churches and the walk with the Lord is much more than a building, brother. You know, unfortunately, religion has twisted a lot, you know what I mean? And I believe that they have, you know, tainted, you know, the word of the Lord in ways, not all of them, but, you know,
It's true.
certain religious factions, and it's unfortunate. But brother, you know, thank you so much for jumping on and sharing your story and sharing your testimony. I'm sure you're going to speak to a lot of people, brother. And man, just stay safe over there, brother.
Yeah, thank you, brother. And to all our brothers out there, do you know what I mean? Just keep connected. Keep connected to someone. There's someone out there who cares. Don't shut off. Right, speak to a brother. My door's always open, David. For brothers want to connect for some keys, be quite happy to share and walk with people, walk them out.
Yeah, most definitely, man. Well, any closing remarks before we wrap this up, my bro?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I miss Aotearoa, but like as I said before, you know, I need more brothers to come and, you know, feel led. You want to do some humanitarian work? It's really cool, bro. Helping people in hard places and war zones, and, you know, needing food and all those sorts of stuff. But you can be whoever you want to be. Do you know what I mean? It's all about the choices. So yeah, God's good, bro. And so God bless you all. And yeah, looking forward to seeing a lot of brothers that I've spent prison with connect with me. Send me a message, because I'd love to know what you're doing and what became of your life. And so I'm just Owen, the Jesus freak. No guns going into the war zones, watching rockets go over the top and drones and helicopters. We've extracted, bro, 55,000 people and taken in over 900 tons of food. I've been in there 11 times now to the Ukraine. People say, "Where's your gun?" My gun's one in my hand. It's all good, bro.
If God is for us, who can be against us, eh, my brother?
Yeah, exactly. All right, man.
And well, yeah, and anyone that wants to shoot Owen a message here, it's Owen Pomana on Facebook. I'll definitely leave that in the description. But again, brother, much love and respect, man, and we'll talk soon anyway, my brother.
All right, bless you, brother. See you, mate.